Right, hello. February 27th, I believe, 2022. Sun's out. A little bit blowy still, with obviously after the 3 storms on the road last week. Some nasty old winds, but settled down a bit this week. And we've had a couple of nice sunny days. Start to feel the warmth of the sun now. And with the increase in daylight hours, things are starting to move in the garden. So I have just uncovered the Gunnera, which has obviously been wrapped up all winter with its old leaves from last year. So we've got a fairly mature clump here, which I guess has been in the ground 4 or 5 years. I did take a division off it a couple of years back, but this is the clump as it is now. So it does, from one plant, it does the rhizome travels a bit and divides off. So you see that clump in the sun there. We've got another big one sort of coming up there, and then the third is here. Starting to push out a little tiny leaf. I'm sure now the temperatures are starting to rise a little bit during the day. We'll get some action going from them. Right, we know spring is on the way when little wildlife pond here, when the frogs are out. I can't see any at the moment, but normally when I come out first thing in the morning there's a food kicking about, so looking forward to having some frog spawn in there soon. So we are getting some early flowers come up. So don't laugh at me, I don't know the names of which I should do, but the sort of common stuff. I guess these are marigolds. These are petunias with the little purple and red flowers. Might be something else. But yeah, we're starting to get a little bit of colour coming in. So things are starting to move. I guess that's hyacinth there. Yeah, but yeah, nothing in particular, just to look at some of the stuff that's starting to come back to life after the long cold winter. So I do find, I guess you get this a lot, the first thing to come up with these things, I always used to think they're marsh marigolds, but they're like a smaller version. I don't remember the name. I'm sure everyone's familiar with them. If you've got a sort of half shady, damper spot, they tend to come out in the spring and or at late winter, early spring, but by mid-spring they're sort of died off. So I never really worried about it too much. A little bit of ground cover. So what I did notice is the Pedicites or Pedicits starting to push their flower buds. I think the slug's already been at this one, but there's one there. And they do spread, because there's one right over here. But yeah, the original clump I planted there, but might have to get some of the old slug pellets down early this year. But I did notice the other Pedicits, the palmatum, we are starting to get some leaves come up, as well as the flower spikes popping up everywhere. And again, I think I've done the original clump here. We've got some coming up here, and pretty much metre away. We've got another flower stem there with some little leaves coming up there. And the thing that amazes me most is even through thick grass they've spread into the border. We've got one coming up there and here. So they're definitely almost virgin invasive, but they're not hard. You can dig them out and pot them up, move them where you want, do whatever you want with them, keep them under control. Right, I have moved one of my shelters, or took it down. This due to the fact that I don't think that was necessary. So I quite like the look of that cordyline there. That's a superstar against the green foliage. It really does stand out, that glossy foliage. But yeah, I had that lean-to cover over that because I didn't really know how hardy this was going to be, this cordyline. But the one on the other side of the garden I left uncovered. There's a sort of test, and that's shown no damage at all after the frosts we've had. So I thought we don't really need that up. I'll take it down. One less thing to make the garden look ugly. So what's under the cloche? Well, if you an old viewer, you'll probably remember I was doing an experiment. So what it is under this one we've got an alocasia. That's Alocasia sumo, and under this one we've got a colocasia. So I've had quite a few of these plants kicking about, so I thought we'll do the experiment. We'll leave them in ground. So literally just fill the cloche with leaves and put over the, cut back obviously the foliage, and just left the tuber in the ground to see how they'd overwinter. And I'm pretty confident that the colocasia is not going to be a problem. That'll come back. So as soon as I start seeing green leaves popping through, I'll probably take the cover off. The alocasia will be the interesting one. So again, total experiment for me, but I thought people might be interested. Again, I won't be removing the cloche until I see any green coming out, or if there's no green and it has just rotted away, then we know that that's not suitable for in-ground overwintering. Right, so yeah, so we have got the first signs of spring. We've got bulbs coming up everywhere. I forget what these are. Sort of silvery green, minty green. They've really started pushing the last week or so. So we'll see, I guess, when they flower, what they are. Again, just random stuff. Might take have a look over here. So this is a patch of the dwarf canna, if you like, which I didn't cut back at all, left as is, just to see how much the old foliage would protect any sort of new growths or the stems. And as you can see, going down, as you can see that there's a little shoot there which is green, and a lot of the stems are still green looking in there. In fact, yes, we've got a leaf, canna leaf there, totally green. So I guess the easy way to overwinter certain cannas, these ones do seem pretty hardy. I can't give you the species, they're just like a dwarf canna reduced I got a few years back. But yeah, the lazy way of doing it, just leave as is. I wouldn't want to do it with the bigger ones because as they die they snap in the wind, but these smaller ones, yeah, just leave it there. It gives it a head start next year with when you've already got a bit of greenery. Then when they start losing the frosts, we'll just cut that totally back. So another bit of an experiment here is, again, if you're an older viewer, you may, I don't mean older in age as in watching the channel for a while, you may remember I bought a unknown Schefflera. It was a houseplant, it wasn't a hardy Schefflera, I know that. Summer last year and stuck it in the ground, and I didn't really fancy digging it up, so I've left it in ground. Obviously with the frost the foliage has died on top. I did put a bit of frost cloth around it, and obviously pretty much all the foliage has died off, but there's a couple of stems there which seem solid, and there's even a softer green stem, so we'll see if that comes back or not. I'm not too fussed either way. What we got here? Seems like we've got a bee stuck underneath the cloche here. How did he get in there? There you go. So we've got a, you see, we'll go back in. Yeah, so we've got a begonia species, could be Griffin or something like that. It's like look a bit like a Rex begonia with the leaves sort of nicely patterned, but in the past I've had this, I dig it up and normally put it in the greenhouse, but I thought I'd just whack a cloche over it and see if it comes back. So it's another little experiment for you, if you like. So that's ongoing. We'll see in the next few weeks if we start getting any growth. Now again, we've got all my palms in the cold frames here. I did give them the water. I've been keeping these pretty dry because they're obviously not exposed to the elements, but they're definitely exposed to the cold temperatures. And I gave them the water yesterday because it's been sunny yesterday and today. They did seem pretty dry, so they're all holding in there. None of the leaves are looking particularly special, but I'm sure the sun and the longer days I'll start to kick in. So we've got I don't know, we've got some Trachycarpus, I think they're cross Wagnerianus fortunei, and the filibusters cross Washingtonia robusta with Folifera, and that's the second year I've kept all them in pots unheated, just in a cold frame. Absolutely fine. So I'll be glad if I can get this shelter down. This is not particularly pretty, but definitely serves a purpose. It always amazes me, even though this is by no means sealed in, there's plenty of air gaps everywhere for airflow, and yet that does just seem so much warmer when you put your hand in there compared to outside. But yeah, we're maybe at the end of March I might looking at taking that down, depending on what the weather does. But so everything in here I more or less left as is. So the cannas, I just chopped down the height of the cannas because these were, I don't know, 6-7 foot, some of these cannas, so I chopped them down to a point where I could get the cover on there and left them as is. So, but I am looking to move that centre clump because they were absolutely giants, and they took away from the effect of the Paragebaya at the back there. So again, in here we've got lots of pots of small Trachycarpus. I'll be looking to get rid of some of them this year. I've had them for a couple of years in pots now, and they really could do with going in the ground. They only do so much in pots. But yeah, everything seems to be doing quite well. So when I uncover this, we'll have a look at the different palms we've got in here and the growth rates, because I planted this centre palm bed up. All the palms were of a similar size, but obviously lots of different species, so they've been grown at different rates, so that'll be interesting to compare. So yeah, things are starting to come back to life, especially the weeds. And the grass. So what I do like to do early spring is just neaten up the borders and give the grass a cut, first cut of the year. So I'll literally go along the border, re-dig the borders out, the edge line of the grass, sharpen that up, give the grass a good cut. That seems to make a huge difference, neatens everything up. I did notice, I don't know what this stuff is, if it's I don't know, it looks kind of a cross between Coleus and what's the word I'm looking for? Persicaria. Kind of, I guess it's in the same family, but seems to be evergreen, this one, and it's definite spreader. This is, I found when I was walking a dog through the woods, I found a huge mats and mats of this, and I thought that's a good ground cover, and it's quite colourful. So I'll just take a couple of cuttings of that, and yeah, it's done okay. I don't know, it's going to be one of these things that gets out of control, but obviously like anything, you see we've got a clump here, then it's sort of sent out a runner, and then it's formed another clump and so forth. So that's going to be a quick spreader, but not a bad ground cover. But we'll see how that does and keep that in check if we need to. So it has moved all the way up there. Right, so obviously I've got a seating area here which is empty at the moment, other than a few pots. So I've literally got, these are all cannas underneath here, which I dug out last year, which I wanted to divide up. So obviously didn't have much room in the greenhouse. I wouldn't even have to shelter them, so I just put a tarp over. Look at that. Always amazes me, even in total darkness, plants will grow. But see, the last week or so with the sun we've had, it looks like we've got a spike on one of the cannas already. So yeah, it's just, obviously it does heat up underneath that tarp a bit. So yeah, they seem to have survived the winter okay. Again, another bit of an eyesore, but we'll get that shifted soon and get them cannas started off. Yeah, again, all random stuff, but we've got some of these grasses here. In fact, so we can get in closer, we can start to see some, I don't know if you can see that. We've got some green. This is the variegated grasses are stuff that if you put in the ground, that'll just spread everywhere. It's an absolute nightmare, but this is in a sort of raised planter. But as soon as you start seeing a bit of green, so I might do that next weekend, cut all that down, let the new growth come out. Same with this is the zebra grass. And already starting to get a bit of greenery in there, so before it starts to put too much growth into the old stems, I'll cut this right back to a few inches. You see there's a bit of greenery down there, so yeah, we'll cut that right back, get all that nice new stripy growth on there. Right, yeah, so in general, yes, the garden still looks a mess and all the covers are still on, bar one, but yeah, things are starting to happen, things are moving. We've got plants starting to wake up. So what I might do over the next few weeks is look at doing some more species specific videos. I mean, last week we done the cordylines and the different species or cultivars of cordyline I'm growing, so didn't really want to, so I was going to go into the different yuccas and maybe agaves, and you know, just have a look at different types of singular plants, but a lot of the stuff is covered up at the moment, so I really want to get it uncovered before I do that, because you can't really see the full effect. But I may well do a quick one on Fatsias later on, which is going to be not very long because there's only a handful that I'm growing. But I suppose I could do, I won't do one on palms because obviously I'm growing a hell of a lot of different species, but I could do different Trachycarpus species, because they're going to be the most common ones grown probably in the UK. Right, let's leave it there. Let's see what's going on in the pond. So I don't know how well it's come out on camera. But you can see right down at the bottom there, and there's a few fish are moving about. I can see all the water soldiers sitting at the bottom, which will, when the water warms up and the light levels increase, they'll come up to the top. Yeah, fish are starting to stir, but I'm certainly not going to be feeding them yet, it's still too cold. Alright, let's leave it there. So again, just some random spring updates, and thanks for watching, we'll catch you on the next one.